So I was just looking at Bill's slides when he was giving it, and I assure you the Ronald McDonald as a baby is far more terrifying on the small screen. And I will not be sleeping tonight. Thank you for that. Thank you for that, Bill. All right, I'm Chethan Ramachandran. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Playnomics. What I'd like to do is talk a little bit about sort of the nature of play and why that's interesting to us. And then I'm also going to go and show you my product, because I will never pass up an opportunity to show product to a captive audience. So when we look at what's happened in the last 10 or 15 years, we see that play, which is core latent human behavior that's been with us for thousands of years, is now being captured. And it's being captured because people are persistently and pervasively playing on devices everywhere they go. Because it can be captured, we think it can be mined. We think you can then figure out who people are by how they play. If you can figure out who people are by how they play, you can speak to them on a level that's never been seen before. That's our large vision for the company. When I think about this, and sort of the reason I started it, I think about my wife, who's 5'4" and petite. I'm 6'2" and quite hefty. She is actually ferocious when it comes to Monopoly, Settlers of Catan, and if you looked at both of us, you wouldn't think that she is the one who will always beat you and leave you begging for mercy every time we play. So there's something deep within us that normal behavior just doesn't capture, but it can be captured in games. That's a little bit hard to see on the slide. The way we do this is we do it through really cutting-edge data prediction, machine learning, and predictive algorithms. This stuff has been used in finance, in information security, credit card fraud detection, Amazon, Netflix. They're all using similar techniques, essentially to segment, then predict, and then make accurate recommendations about who you may be based on your activity. What we're doing is we're looking at how people play. And I had a previous startup that did similar stuff for information security. It was mediocre at best, and the reason was that the data was hard to get. It was hard to get, and it was hard to understand why people were doing things. In games and play, it's exactly the opposite. It is deep in context, and it can be very, very accurate. So this is one of the first things we did a couple years ago. Bear with me, it's extraordinarily ugly, your eyes are bleeding. But what you can see here is actually behavior, human behavior in a simple social game. This is a billiard-style game. We mined it using 25 variables, and you see 3 clusters of activity. You see a blue group down there, which has a lot of friends in view 1, but doesn't seem to be doing very well in the game. If you looked at view 2, which is the number of times that blue group played, it actually doesn't play at all on a weekly basis, and they don't actually do well in the game when they play. The reason is that we found out this blue group was highly social in nature. And they actually were just there because their friends had spammed them into playing a game. This is back when Facebook allowed you to do that. And they actually weren't doing anything for the game publishers that were our customers. We found a green group on the left side over there where you see they have very few friends, but a lot of credits. That's because no one wanted to play with them. They were really, really, really competitive. If you look at view number 2, that same green group doesn't actually play that much on a weekly basis, but when they play to win. And I think we all know people in our lives who are exactly like that. And then the third group we found is sort of this red group that's kind of all over the place. And what we found is that those people were motivated by collecting and exploring. If you looked at this view 2 right here, they seem to play a lot on a weekly basis. They're not very good, but they keep coming back for more and more and more because they love to get more and more and more items. So when we saw this, we said, now we finally see human behavior coming into light in a different way that's been captured before. So flash forward a couple of years, and our system essentially is customer targeting. We believe that unless you know what your customers are about and you segment your customers, you can never actually target them. So people in the game industry and soon-to-be brands and e-commerce companies use our platform for 3 things. Number 1, to figure out who is interesting and valuable based on how they play, based on all these unique forms of behavior. Are you social? Are you competitive? Are you going to monetize? Are you viral? Number 2, once they know someone is valuable, they say, I want to get more of that type of player. And we help them acquire more players and recruit more players into their game. And number 3, they say, well, now I have this great audience. Let me keep them, and let me talk to them on a one-to-one personalized basis. So I'm just going to flip over really quickly if you'll bear with me. I'll just show you what our product is. And as Bill mentioned, the The unfortunate thing is that the slides, there we go, perfect. And the resolution is awful on this. But what you can see here is essentially our nerve center for the game. We show people what's going on in their game. We give them a sense of who is valuable. And then we essentially allow them to put customized notifications in front of the right type of people. So say, for example, I want to find a highly viral type of person who has a lot of friends. I can then see how loyal, how much attention they've paid, what their intensity is. I can even go and see in my game, in a network of people, who are the key connectors? What happens when those key connectors go away? If I lost my key connectors and my influential people, do I lose my game fabric? And ultimately, all this is just a way to target people in the game environment or anywhere outside on the web. And we allow the game publishers or brands or e-commerce companies to basically build personalized targeting so that you as a player, if you are highly social and you only care about gifts you want to give to your friends, that's all you'll see. If you're a player and you're really competitive like the folks we saw earlier and you really don't care about anybody else, you'll see challenge tournaments and notifications. We think that this is essentially the most predictive one-to-one targeting that you'll see in any sort of industry whatsoever. So I'm going to just run quickly through a quick example just so we all understand what this means. Imagine a social Mario Brothers game, obviously not real. If it were, I'd play it. I think we all remember Super Mario Brothers to a certain degree. Imagine they've launched, they want new players. You want to talk to their players in a different way. If you want a new player, you'd want them to see Super Mario Brothers for the first time. Adventure in action in a mushroom-filled world. If you have an existing player, you might want to say, hey, here's a free power-up just for you, based on your unique attributes to help you on your way. We saw you're stuck. We care about you, and we want you to do better. What we do is we help the game publisher based on all the data we're gathering, things like play patterns, longevity, affinity for different genres, the levels of engagement across different types of games. And then we look at the games in terms of their game mechanics, their victory conditions, their incentives, and then we try to match the right player for the right game. A new player might see this on time.com because it will be personalized for you specifically based on your unique attributes. Maybe you've played a puzzle game before, and we say, you know what, you'd be really good for this social Mario Brothers game. An existing player might see it in the game canvas itself. So we think this is actually something, and this is a great topic for discussion for everybody. When we look at what's going on in the game universe, acquisition budgets are like 100 times retention budgets. People literally do not have a retention budget in the gaming universe. But we think that, and I think Bill alluded to it, it's much cheaper to keep a customer you have than to get a new one. So over time, we think things like this, talking to people personally in the game canvas, are going to become more and more important. Let me finish just by a very quick thought exercise. What is a game? We have a very sharp advisor at NYU named Eric Zimmerman, who runs the game lab over there. And he has a very specific definition. A system in which players engage in artificial conflict defined by rules that result in a quantifiable outcome. Pretty wonky. But when you think about it, that means that a lot of things can be games. And we've seen it in our day-to-day lives already. Foursquare is a wonderful example of a real-world game. So while people are thinking, here's Farmville, here's all the villas of the world, what we see is that play, this latent, powerful human behavior, is going everywhere. And that more and more and more brands, e-commerce companies, and certainly the gaming companies are going to be using play and play mechanics to engage with human behavior and to ignite psychographic patterns of activity that lie within the mind. Thanks. Ooh.